Okay, so the emulator finally launched. So let's go and test our app. Let's click on the button. We can see here that the text changed when we click the button, so that works as we wanted it to. Great, so let's get rid of this. Let's go back to our Java file. Okay, so here what we did was we referenced the button through the view object. But what if we want to reference an arbitrary UI element from the UI? We can't do it just by casting the view. So we're going to learn a new function called findViewById that allows you to get any UI element by its ID. So here, let's take a look. Let's say, how about when we click the button, let's change the text in the text view. So this text view, it was created by default when we created the app, but let's take a look at its properties over here. So we see all the properties about it. We see a field called ID, and that's used to uniquely identify that particular view object. So here it's called text view. We can also see this by going to the XML text, finding that text view object, which is right here, and finding the Android :ID field. And that tells us that the ID is called text view. So if we want to reference that text view element in our Java code, we can do that in the following way. So we know it's a text view object, so whatever it returns is going to be text view. So let's call it text view text. And we're going to cast the result of this function called findViewById. So that's part of the activity class, findViewById. And we have to give it as a parameter an integer that identifies the element that we're looking for. And we can do this by typing the following. So first of all, let's import text view. So that's option return. Okay, and then so findViewById returns an element that is specified by the identifier given in the parameter. So what is this R thing? So this R object is created by the system. It's basically a bunch of resources that are used by our app. And the second, so we do R and we do dot, and then we do the type that we're looking for. So in this case, we're looking for an ID. When we saw R used over here, we referenced R, and then we did dot layout. So we were looking for a layout resource. But here we're looking for an ID resource because we need something to identify the element, the UI element that we're looking for. So it's r.id, and then the name of the UI element. So again, we found the ID for text view back in the XML file here where we set the ID to text view. So the button here has an ID button. You can go and manually modify these if you want to. But that's how we reference them here. So what happens is it finds this identifier for text view, it's an integer, and then we call findViewById, and that returns a view object. But we need to cast that view object to a text view because again we want to set the text on that element. So we can do text.setText to and then that text should be modified when we click the button. Okay, so again, I'm going to run the emulator right now, and I'll come back on the next video after it launches.